the guy in the back, and he said he would turn it off.
All right.
We had like a long discussion about it. Like, I'm fine with anything.
All right. But you agreed finally. Good. So, any questions or comments? Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Very interesting short films, and you are amazing talent making feelings visible for audience. How do you work with these young, talented actors?
Thank you. I try to not stick that hard to the script. So I try to just it's trying to figure out how to answer this in a short way. But I spend a lot of time doing casting. I can start there. So I spend a lot of time doing casting. To the last one you saw, Tiny Piece, the small bita. I think I met like 120 kids, youth. Like doing an interview, talking with them, and like trying to make a few different scenes and trying to make them improvise and tell, like give their own words on how they want to do the scenes that I have in my head. So it's very much like giving it to them, and they can translate it for me and then come back with something. And I work very much with non-professional actors, and I guess that's logic when you work with young people because they haven't attended like any acting school or casting agencies or whatever. But I really like that thing when you can meet someone and they can kind of transform your characters that you have into in your head into like flesh and blood and really define what the character is. And often I see that when I'm doing like castings. So I have a long period of castings, and also not that often I show them the script. I can give them like a synopsis, a short version of the story, so they know what they're in for, and I can explain the scenes, and I can talk very long and deep about the character. But I don't want them being stuck with lines, because often they fall into a way of knowing how to say that line and then saying that line over and over again the same way. So they don't get to see the script that often. And when I rehearse scenes that are similar to the scenes that we're gonna make. So I can see if they have the emotional levels that I want to reach. Like if they can be sad or if they can be like super angry. Elin, for example, you saw her in the last two films, and she can't get angry, really. She has other ways of being angry. Like she has, not gonna go too deep into her, but she can't get really angry. So and when she's in my feature film as well, and since she can't get angry, we had to try to explain her emotions and her way of being in another way, like being angry but not screaming. And yeah, so it's a lot of work, but it's very much like finding the people.
Yeah, you kind of know young people, what's inside them very well. Yeah, nice work.
Other questions? Yes.
So I was here yesterday and saw the long version of the short movie we saw today.
Yeah.
And the dad in that movie reminded me a lot about the dad in this last short film. What's the connection?
I don't know. Me writing dads. I don't know. It's very different stories. I wanted to talk about in the last one you saw. I wanted to talk about your home and what's at home behind closed doors, kind of. That you can act like really normal in the real life and you can be out with your friends and everything, but not really knowing about hemförhållanden. I don't know the English word, like your state at home, your how it is at home, and I don't know. That actor is super. That Jonas in the.
I
He's-
recognized him.
Yeah, he's kind of mental. And he has said and done so many stupid things in Sweden. But still, I would like to work with him. I'm thinking about working with him again now. Even though many of the things he said, he's been a complete idiot. But in some way, I like the idea of giving them like a second chance. And this, I think the most important thing is to discuss with people that you think are stupid, not just going into your own corridor. Well, that I didn't answer your question now, but the dads, I don't know. I don't. Often I get like questions about parenthood and like the adults, but I think it's more about the kids and when you are a kid, the adult world and your parents, it's something you have to stick with and like because they're governing you. And therefore I think it's interesting to tell stories because when you're a kid you're never really free. Even though the grown-ups can be idiots, you still have to listen to them or you're dependent on them. Yeah, so I guess these parents are just the result of me trying to tell stories about children and youth.
Okay. More comments or questions? Yes.
So I was wondering, why did you choose the melancholic theme?
Sorry, why did you choose?
The melancholic, the dark, something kind of darkness, depressive.
Why I want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Like in each and every film, or in one certain film, or like for everyone,
For
everything. I don't know. Maybe it's. I think I no, but it's a super good question. But maybe it's hard to answer because I think that's like darkness or sad things or injustice things are things that drives me into writing, and I think then when I get ideas of those kind of stories, I feel like okay, maybe this has a reason to be done, like that it's important to tell that story. I don't make like a comedy, and I don't like the format of the film format because it's like I don't think it's for me it's not a way to tell like a funny story or colorful stories, and even though it can be super in that way, like doing a musical or whatever, but for me it's more like telling the things that I really think should be told, and yeah, it's hard to answer it, but often when I try to write like lighter stuff, I'm not interested. I can start writing it or I can start thinking about it, but I will pretty soon like end up not doing it. It's more interesting walking into those like where it really hurts or when it really when it's like dark and difficult. But still it can be warm, you know. You can talk about if you're I'm positive towards people, but I'm not really positive like towards our world or how we are living. So and if you have that, so I often dark stuff, but I try to put it in a light way because I like people. Okay.
Do you see a progression in your work because like films like I Turn to You seem to be a little bit lighter, maybe having still like a comical situations?
Yeah,
More
but
than
that's the
the-
only light thing I have ever done. As you see, the one that was before that, like the films that I started with, they were super dark.
Alright.
So that was like a miss. That was like a
Misstep.
misstep. But I enjoyed it because I think the girls and I think the what do you say, personregi, like the way the actors act. Well, I think it was super. I haven't seen it in like 5 years, but I think it was nice when I saw it now.
That's true.
Actually, I don't have a question now. It's just, I don't think they were very depressive. I think they were kind
But
of.
he said
hopeful.
melancholic, and I said
yeah.
depressive maybe.
I mean,
yeah.
and I think there's like, none of them ended like sadly. Everything ended so that you can imagine there's like something more, kind of.
Mm. True. At least some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are super sad, I think. When Abdi, the black guy in the comet, when he walks out in the sea again, that's like, for me, it's like going under. But I guess some of the other films are like kind of open in the end, like, yeah, not certain what's gonna happen.
Do you think that Comet is kind of very different in your work?
Yeah, it is.
It's an adaptation of a book.
Yeah, it's adaptation of a short novel, a short story. But then I had a really hard time with the world at that time, because that was like in the peak of the refugees crisis, and I really had a feeling that the world wasn't functioning at all, and that it was so cruel. And then I met Abdi, that plays the main character there, and his story was like, it was so weird, because his story was kind of the same that I had written like a few days before. And I met him at the party, dancing with him like late at night, and then we went to after party, and then we drank beer, and then we started talking. And his story was, so I kind of made an adaptation of his story in Kometen, because he's gone through like each and every step of that, like over the sea and being in prison in Libya for like, I think he was there for 7 months or something, and then he fled and over the sea again, and in cars. So, and yeah, that's also a very long story, but yeah, Abdi.
Okay, there was a question.
Yes, I was thinking about that sense of fear you have in some film.
The what, the sense?
The sense of fear and
Fear, yeah.
unpredictable element, especially in film Meet Me at Holmsund and the last one. And I was thinking about that. What was the meaning? Was it that you want to build some tension there, on some undercurrent of something unpredictable element? What was that?
I'm not sure that I understand the question, but I'll go with fear.
Yes.
And the undermining or something.
Yeah,
But I had like, and that was also after I did Meet Me in Holmsund and the Kometen almost parallel to each other. And but I had that feeling, and I still have that feeling, that something's gonna go very mental wrong with this world.
Yes, yes.
With
What
if you look at like world leaders today, something
Yes.
will soon be. So we will hit like a new crisis in some way, and fear, and also if I think fear is in the bottom of many of these problems, and soon I think we're also heading for like a financial crisis or recession, and then them who will be most punished are them who are have the least today, and it will lead to I think it will lead to war, and I think it will lead to some kind of madness, and it's interesting when you start to think about those stuff. It kind of triggers you, and when I get triggered, I try to stick with that thoughts, and I wanted to do something that was really like undermining talking about the definite madness, talking about the totala vansinnet, in the Swedish idyll in some way, in Swedish, like, and with this easy meeting between two girls, because they can understand each other and they can look each other in the eyes and they can like understand each other, but in the same time, parallel to that, I think the world is kind of collapsing. And I think it will collapse kind of drastically in 10 and 20 years from now, with the climate crisis and with the financial crisis that is coming, and with our world leaders and how we're building walls all over Europe, and we're building walls all over the world, trying to protect ourselves from one another, when we really should like try to collaborate and talk to and meet one another. And therefore I had some, I tried to put that fear and that madness under a kind of a light story between these two girls.
I understand.
Big and small.
So there was bigger questions. You show us something, but under there were bigger questions. Global questions as well. Okay.
More questions or comments? Yeah, there should be something.
It's Saturday night. Everyone wanna go drink beer.
Yes.
Okay, maybe if you had something to add now that you saw the films, like one since first time since 5 years, so what were your feelings about?
I was very nervous about the screening because I'm not comfortable or confident with any of the short films that I've done. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's because you're not like satisfied with everything. So still, it's like picking an old wound or something when you look at your movies. But I thought it was nice that you started with I Turn to You, Jag vill nå dig, because I think that was, I think it's well done, and all the others has a lot of errors and fractures to it, but it was okay. I had to go out on the second last because I don't like that short film at all. Meet Me in Holmsund. But I'm happy about I'm kind of a bit happy about the feature that came from that short. So I'm happy that I did the short anyway. But it was super nice to like show it in such a nice, I don't know, cinema, and with kind of big audience for small films. I'm happy.
And how do you work with your production company? Are you like always throwing ideas or collaborating for projects, or is it more solo work? How do you
mean with other companies or within
with
our own?
Our own. Yes.
We kind of have our own niche at stuff. So we have one guy that's working a lot with co-production, and we have Therese that is mainly like our producer, and we have Fredrik that is more like documentaries, and he's a director, he's a producer, and is a dramaturg and editor, and I'm more like fiction, writing and directing. So we each have our own thing, and I think that's good, so we're not stepping on each other's toes, and we're co-producing stuff, and we did the Hobby Horse Revolution. We were the co-production company in Sweden, and we're super happy about that film. So we've been working with Tuffi Film 1 or maybe 2 times, I'm not sure. So I think Tuffi Film, we like them very much, and we have done some co-production with Norway, and we have a really like simple plan. When we started our company, we wanted to like, okay, we're gonna put kind of the same effort or kind of the same working percent into our company, but we're gonna split all the money. So if someone does a commercial and it's super well paid, if someone does like an art piece and it's just a disaster economically, still that money all will come into the same pot, and then we will slice it by 4. So and we have stuck to that idea the whole time, and therefore I think we haven't been rich out of it at all, but we always had our films and our titles, our production company at first, and then we did like some dealt out the money under that. So it's a super easy idea of having the fördelning, the divide money within the company, but I think it really works. Yeah, stupid but well working.
Results are great. So
I have still one question. When you go out somewhere and you see young people, ordinary young people, and if you feel that they are sad because you work so much with young people, do you ever feel like you want to talk to them or help them, or you feel that they are sad or something? Do you have that kind of feelings?
I'm not sure. I think I'm good at talking to young people. I like talking to young people, but you don't want to be creepy, so maybe you have to let them have their space and you ask them questions if you really think you need to. But I work in schools a lot. I work as a artist director with the different projects where I'm based in Umeå, which is in the northern parts of Sweden. So I work out in schools doing different projects. I'm very much involved with young people, and I'm super interested in young people. And I think it's many of them are great because they're so honest. So it's easy to talk to them. And I had a very, very strange time being maybe between 12 and 20 or something. It was really, it could have gone any way. I could be a criminal, I could be a druggie, or I could be a football player. I was really it just was just me slipping around on a banana or something. But I had good parents, and I had a safe zone in that way. But it was a very strange years. So maybe therefore I'm interested in that period as well. But I'm very happy to work with young people.
And I think that when they trust you, they also tell you a lot of stories. Yeah.
Okay, maybe one more last question. Well, in that case, thank you for the questions. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.